Welcome back. We are discussing about the different videos, the different topics under environmental engineering. In this video, we'll talk about intake towers. Whenever we select a water source, the water should be collected from the water source for subsequent processing through a water treatment plant, and it should go into a distribution system. So the structure what we are going to use to collect water from that particular source is called as the intake tower. So if you see the function of intake tower to help safely withdrawing water from the source to discharge to intake conduit. There are two types of wells normally followed, wet well or dry wells. And there are different types of intakes there. So river intake, canal intake, lake intake, reservoir intake, etc. And usually, uh, what we normally see in cities or wherever water bodies are available, river intakes are usually adapted. But in villages where we don't have much of the water, rivers are there, etc., we can use canal intake as well. And occasionally we may use lake intakes. And reservoir intake is another one which is regularly used to collect water because the reservoir is formed when you construct a dam at upstream. So you take water from the reservoir through a intake to supply water and to the particular locality. So now these are different types of wells which are used. Let us see here. One is a dry well, another is wet well. What is the difference between these two? Let us see very simply. So now you can see here, this is the level, the river bed, the water body that I'm talking as a river here for simple discussion. So this is the bed of the river, and this is the maximum water level and lower water level. So we are constructing a structure here, a some type of structure, and we are keeping three different inlets here. In this case, there are three inlets are given here, and now you can see here there are some strainers are provided. This is nothing but a mesh which will stop the entry of the silt or sediment into that particular pipe. So why we have to make these many inlets? Because there is a possibility that the water may go into dry position. So even at that particular period also, the water can be drawn from the river into the intake. That's the reason why we put these levels, the intake pipes at different elevations in the intake tower, right? So now what you see in the dry well, what will happen? These pipes are connected to a larger pipe, right? So that means the water will come directly from the river through this pipe. It will enter into the main pipe. So all the water is collected from the main pipe, and there is an outlet directly coming here. So that's how the water goes out from the well. So this is the intake water, the water coming from the intake tower. That is called as the intake conduit, right? So now, which wall, which pipe we have to operate? So then we have number of valves are there. By opening these valves, the water is allowed through this pipe into the main, depending on the levels. For example, water is at lower level, so this pipe need not be operated. We can close this valve, right? So only this particular pipe is should be operated. Only this valve is open, and water will automatically come here. So these valves are used to regulate the flow of water through these intake pipes. So once water is taken out, it can be sent through a small pumping to a treatment plant, and subsequently it will undergo the subsequent stages of water supply systems, right? And there will be a footbridge. So the control room will be there at the top, so that a person can come, and then there is a problem, maintenance problems and all. He can come and check here and then complete his job and go. The only thing is why it is called dry well before we go. So here the water is not at all stored in the sump. directly going out through the outlet. So similarly, we are having another wet well. So again, same construction. This is a tower we are constructing, and then this is the river bed, right? And then what you see here, this is the low water level, high water level, or high flood level, and there are different intake pipes. They are fitted with strainers here. And now you can see here, there is no common pipe like the dry well. That means the water is allowed to store in the sump. We are operating a valves to open the water through the pipes, allow the water through the pipes. And now all the water is stored here. Once the entire stored, now you are putting a pump and operating the pump to lift this water to the treatment plant. So that's the difference here. A dry well, water is not at all stored. Entire sump is dry. In the wet well, the water is collected in the sump and is lifted through a pump. Again, you're on the top, you're having a control room, and then there is a footbridge is there, and people can come over here and then check the working of the pump. We want to do some maintenance work, everything, they can do it here, right? This is a wet well. This is also called as a jack well usually. Now, this is a reservoir intake. So here the intake tower is constructed at a reservoir. Again, we can go for a dry well or wet well, depending upon the availability and the type of soil which is there. So in this case, you can see a construction is given here, intake tower. Now this is the left side, you are having the water and the water bed here, and three different levels of here intake pipes are made. The bottommost intake pipe is below the lower water level, and then the strainers are provided. In this case, you can see all these pipes are connected to a single pipe and then going out. So that's why it is a completely dry well type of things. A foot bridge is given to access this particular intake tower, so people can come into this control room and then go for operation. Then this is at a reservoir. Even this can be the other side of a dam also. So here what you're seeing is this is as a dam here, a reservoir formed here, and then you're collecting water from the reservoir. And now this is a river intake. River intake is also same thing. So we have both the options, both the options here. You can see in this case, this is a wet pump, a wet well. The bottommost intake pipe is below the lower water level, and then you can see uppermost is below the high flood level, so that water is allowed inside the intake tower, and water is collected inside here. There is some is pumped through two water works, right? So this is located at upstream of a city at a location where water demand is met throughout the year, right? So the well can be inside the riverbed if the riverbed is hard. Outside the riverbed, it is a soft bed. It depends on that. Screens are provided to avoid sediment in the well. And now this is the things which you normally see where the rivers or reservoirs are not available. The canal. The canal, you can see here the similar process. But here, instead of going for intake pipes or inlet pipes, we normally provide an opening in the side wall of the intake tower. And this wall is fitted with some coarse screen. This coarse screen will stop the entry of debris and other floating material inside the tower. So this is a flood full supply level, lower water level, and water will enter through the coarse screen here, and then it comes here. This is a intake chamber, and now here you have a control wall. If you open this wall, water will flow from this pipe to the outlet. So now here also we provide a strainer at the pipe so that if some debris are still coming, they will be stopped here. So you're putting some cushion here at the bottom so that the pipe will rest comfortably here. And then you see this is the canal bank. So this is how the water goes out. So this is a lake intake. Lake intake is also similar to what you have in canal intake. Usually lakes have more depth at its center, hence a submerged intake is provided. So this is a submerged intake. Now you are having a cushion at the bottom here, bottom of the lake bed, and then you are providing a pipe here, and then this is fitted with the bell mouth here. Bell mouth means is the shape of the inlet here. This is also fitted with screens. You can observe that particular vertical lines. They are nothing but the screen meshes. So the intakes are considered as crypts as bell mouths. The crypts are made of heavy timber framework, which is partly or wholly filled with the riprap to protect the intake content. So this is how it is going to. The top of the crib or bell mouth are covered with screens or mesh. So now this exit of the water is now leaving into a sump. You can see here. They're collected from the lake and then through a pipe and then going into again here a collection pump, a sump here, and from this sump you are lifting this water. So the canal or a lake, what you are seeing there is we do not have any intake pipes. Directly water is collected and then there depending on the levels and requirements, elevation, topography, the water can be lifted from the collection sump. So now you can see here, this is some pictures. This is what I'm referring to. This is a river, water body, and this is the intake tower. And this is the bridge coming here. And this is upper level of that access bridge. Now people can directly go inside and see the maintenance. So at the same time, you can see here the level of the water is also recorded. So this is another type of intake tower. So that you can see here, people can easily go inside and then go for maintenance. The same case we are going for earth dam intakes. Usually for the dams, where reservoir, we're collecting the reservoir across a dam, and usually we normally go for a dry well, right? So you're having inlet pipes here, they're connected to a collection pipe, then outlet passing through the dam and going out, right? So this is all about the intake towers. Intake towers are mainly constructed to collect water from a specific source. So there are two types of wells, wet well or dry well. Wet well means water is collected inside a sump and that water is pumped out through using a pump. And dry well means water is collected directly without storing in the sump, and that water is allowed through a collection pipe outside of the sump, right? So we'll see in another video, we'll continue the discussion in another video. And this is all about the intake towers used for water supply systems. Thank you.